Daredevil episode 6, Condemned. Now, in this episode, Matt was definitely stuck between like a very serious rock and hard place. He's trapped, in this building the entire episode, which I thought was really cool. I didn't think it was condemned because they were going to be in the building the whole time, but it was pretty awesome. I love pretty much everything that happened in this episode. We got a cool little fight scene at the end, but this was definitely one of those episodes that really stands out for its amazing story because the whole thing is like the insane aftermath. These huge explosions have gone off. The episode starts off obviously right where the last episode ended, and Matt has to figure out how he's gonna escape from these cops. And I was really surprised he even let them put the handcuffs on him. And then it goes to the point where these aren't just regular cops. Of course, they end up being dirty cops, and that was the crazy thing about this episode. Every cop we saw, at least that had like dialogue, aside from the one young cop who was only on the force for like 2 months or something, every other cop that had dialogue was a dirty cop. Like every last one, even if they didn't say it, they were either exposed beforehand or they were just in the background and they were with the person who was talking because they were all dirty. And it was just a crazy episode. Like Daredevil has to defend himself against them because they're going nuts. They're about to kill Vladimir, so he takes these guys out. He's able to get Vladimir off to this building. Of course, they end up finding him, and then they just surround the place. And Fisk takes some very interesting steps in this episode to kind of help himself out. It's like he realizes that Ben is there. Like once he finds out, who it is, it's not just some old reporter. He changes things up. It's like, all right, instead of doing the opposite of what I want, instead of doing what I want, I'll do the opposite, and I will do it as crazy and expansively as I possibly can. I'll get every form of media here, and instead of erasing this issue and just swarming this building, I'll have it where the city turns on this guy. I will have the media say, this is the villain, this is the guy who beat up these, good cops and who shot these other cops, which I don't know why that would make sense to anybody because they already said earlier in the newscast that he was the one in the building. But, we have a cool conversation between Fisk and Daredevil, and it's like, they finally have that little confrontation. I'm sure they'll have a physical one later on in the season, but they have their first, sort of meeting, and it was pretty cool. Like, they have their conversation where Fisk is like, we're very alike, we want to change the city and stuff like that, but, I can't let you get in the way of my progress, so I have to kill you, I have to take you down. And, all Daredevil was trying to do is get his next lead, and he's working with Vladimir. And I love the way they did the typical, like, oh, he's about to say the last word and then he dies thing, where he's he acts like he's fainting. And initially I thought he was going to die, but the way they would do it, that would make it a little bit more unique, is that even if he died while saying it, because it's Daredevil, he'd hear that. And that's what I was honestly thinking. Like, he'd say the name while he was dying and he'd be like, and then Daredevil would be like, got it, thanks. But it was a complete trick, and it was just like, boom, and he headbutts him, then hits him with the stick, and then of course that sends them down 3 freaking flights through this building, and that was just crazy. It was like, okay, well, they fell through a floor, oh, they fell through another one, and now they're hitting the ground and they're both down for a little bit. But it was fun. It was a great episode. I love the dialogue we got between Fisk and Daredevil, the dialogue between Vladimir and Daredevil, and him having this conversation with them, especially at the end where it's like, you want him to go to trial and stuff, but he owns too much of these people. He owns far too much of the legal system within this city for a trial to work. You know how this has to happen, but it's not who you are. You stepped into the cage with animals the second you put the mask on. And what he did to me, he'll do to you. And when he does, are you going to say the same thing? I thought that was just a great moment for, Vladimir, like a great final moment for him to say, like, I know where you're at right now, but once this crap happens to you, once you're where I am, are you going to be so virtuous to say he should really go to trial and things like that? So I thought that was really cool. The stuff they had with everyone else, like with Foggy and Karen, was actually pretty cool too. And of course, they end up running into Claire. Like, I always love that silly stuff where it's like, oh, look at these characters who are so important, and they just don't know each other, and they just randomly run into each other through circumstance. But we get to see what they're doing and how they're dealing with the aftermath, and obviously Foggy and Karen are in a much more serious position where even we find out that Foggy's actually even wounded in this episode, so he's in bed by the end. Karen did actually kiss Foggy in the head, so that kind of established the fact that they will kind of be in a relationship, so that's kind of cool for Foggy, thumbs up for him because Daredevil already has Claire, so they might end up together. But we got to see Claire kind of deal with some stuff too, where it's like I don't know what the heck's going on. She had to help him in the beginning with Vladimir, and it's like the flare thing I thought was kind of cool. She's like, don't let up, and he's like, is it personal? Is that professional advice or is it personal? She's like a little bit of both, and I just thought that was kind of cool because you'd want revenge on the guy, but you want to help him because if you save Vladimir, it helps Daredevil, which ultimately would help the city based on what she knows about him and how he's helped save people. So I thought that was cool. Also, that was a cool scene in general with him listening and kind of seeing around the room while being still. I thought that was a cool little moment, and the fact that they used that flare on him, I thought was pretty insane. I'd never seen that in a show before, and it's like I've also never seen a show where it's like you're just gonna have to cauterize the wound. Just don't move too much because we're gonna have to leave that bullet in there. And she mentioned the stuff about it being like TV. Like you can't just be digging around in people all the time. And it's like it's totally a depth type of thing. Like if it's in the middle, it's in the middle. Like you burn that junk up and get them somewhere soon, I guess. But you can't just poke him from the other side and just take the bullet out or dig into his stomach with your fingers and pluck some bullets out. That's a bit too much sometimes. It'll kill you. So I thought that was a cool little step where it's like I just have to burn you and to keep you alive and get my answers. And then after they fall through the ground, he has to just pound on his chest to bring him back to life. So he was trying, and he finally got his answer at the end. So he's got his lead. He's got Leland's name, and that's where he's headed. Like he was determined. It's like he knew what Vladimir had decided. He did the look after he kicked the lock off. He looked at him, and it's like he made his decision. So he let him do what he wanted to do, and he hears the gunfire behind him, and he just walks off. So I don't know where the next episode's gonna go. I'm not sure if it's gonna skip a little bit of time and go to the aftermath, or if he's gonna go straight to trying to find Leland, because really he's been through a lot when you think about it. He's gone through one of those TV days where it's like, all right, and typical sort of normal day in the beginning, stuff like that. Night before, he was probably up a little late because he went and he saved Claire, so he beat up a bunch of Russians. After that, bit of time to relax until he goes and he finds them at their facility. He fights those people outside. Then the building blows up on him, and then he goes and he has to save. He finds Vladimir. He has to save him. He has to beat up the cops. He has to carry Vladimir all the way to the building. They fall through the floor. He has to lift up this heavy grate, carry him, beat up some cops with assault rifles, or dirty cops, fake cops, whatever they were. And then he's off, and like, what is it, like 11 p.m. or something, like midnight? So it's just like he's had one of those like TV days where they do like this much stuff in this much time. So I'm not sure where the next episode is going to take place, if it's going to be right after once again. But there's a lot of stuff that they can follow up on, like the stuff with Foggy and Karen in the hospital. But at the same time, they could also skip over that and just be like, it's 2 days or whatever later. And he's, Matt's still working on the lead that he has. Foggy's kind of recovering, and they're working on the stuff with Mrs. Cardenas. And things like that. And then Fisk is obviously just kind of doing his thing. And Ben, obviously, being the journalist that he is, will be kind of writing about this and possibly getting back into the swing of things and working with Karen a little bit more as well. So I like this episode. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about it, though. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and what is going to happen in this next episode. Like, what do you guys think is going to take place? Is it going to be last episode, this episode, then the next one starts from where this one ended, or are they going to skip a little bit of time and let the city recover at least a tiny bit? I mean, buildings blowing up, people all in the hospital and stuff. Are they going to compact this night even more, or are they going to kind of give the city a little bit of a breather and let things recuperate a little before Daredevil is able to go out and officially find Leland? Because, like I said, he's had one of those TV nights, and everyone has, really. Explosions, and 4 giant explosions across the city, cops getting killed off. Young cop gets killed off by fake cops, pretending to be, or dirty cops and SWAT and stuff, and that was a messed up scene, and they just stabbed him right in the neck. I was like, man, that really kind of sucks, but yeah, that's just how it is. Fisk has these people, and that's really all there is to it, because obviously he would have been like, well, the guy beat me up and he tied me down, he didn't kill me or whatever, and even without the killing thing, it's like he tied me down inside the building, and that would kind of debunk the whole he got outside and started shooting people type of stuff. So it's like anything anyone could possibly say, nah, let's kill them. So I don't know if they're gonna compound even more stuff into just this one night, but I wouldn't know what you guys think. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.